pretty obvious. Okay.
When she loved... I think it's on, baby.
It's on?
Yes.
Oh, it's on, yeah.
It's 12, 14,
What do you mean 12, 14?
17, 18.
Oh, you mean seconds?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi everybody.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode.
Yes, last week
Mandates.
I was stuck in traffic buying some cabinet doors. And tonight I find it very interesting that this is your date.
Yeah,
Your date outfit.
This is called...
It's so ugly, babe.
This is called raw, natural. And I just came from a quick basketball game outside, so...
Yeah, good thing you don't stink.
With my kids, for the record.
Yeah. So...
In our own court, so...
You know what? You're blessed because you're handsome even when you look sweaty. Okay, so tonight, we're gonna talk about...
Let's say hi to who's joining us
Yeah.
already. Thank you
wait,
for joining us.
Ayan.
Let's see,
Yeah.
Ayan. Good evening. Hi, everybody. Hello, Ayan, si Karen. Hi, Karen and Joseph, all the way in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, those are our friends.
guys.
Yes,
Ayan.
our good friends.
We'll be joining you guys soon for that talk, I think, about marriage. Excited. Ayan. So, Tagum, hello, guys. From all over. Ayan. I thank you for the greeting. Belated Happy
Should
Father's
greet
Day.
everybody
To all the dads out there also, and to all your fathers that are in your lives, Happy Father's Day. It's a very challenging but special and privileged role. So again, Happy Father's Day, everybody. Ayan. From Bahrain, ayan. Hello as well. From
Just
Australia.
quickly,
Yes,
just super
darling.
quickly,
Yes, baby.
Since it is Father's Day,
From
right?
Tokyo. Ohayo gozaimasu. Yes, happy birthday to Res from Iloilo. Yeah. May plug pa si Emily. Hey, Res, happy birthday if you're watching. Oh my, yeah. So
Okay, quickly. What's the hardest thing about being a dad during this pandemic?
wow, this is
But we'll go to
really
our topic.
unplanned.
It's super unplanned.
Okay, the
I'd like
hardest
to catch you off guard.
again, the hardest thing about
Being a dad
being a
during this pandemic.
I think the challenges of being a dad are the same, whether it's a pandemic or not. I think like many things, the pandemic just sort of supercharges those challenges,
Yeah.
if you will. But same challenges, for example, managing my time, managing my temperament while I'm juggling things, and making sure that I can switch on from work mode to dad mode, and not affect my kids, because sometimes they will knock on my door while I'm working. I'm still on my work mode. I'm like, yes.
In fact, you have a term for it, which really, really actually aggravates you. What's the term that you call
The
it?
central executive mode.
Yes. Oh my
Because the
goodness.
brain is divided into basically two modes. One is the central executive, where you're in a zone, you're focused, you need to get things done, and it's very hard to take distractions. The other is the daydream mode, or when it's relaxing and it's just trying to take in ideas when you're watching, you're surfing, the idle time. So anyway, so when I'm in my work mode, I'm in my central executive mode. And so my kids or my wife will come in and I'm in a zone, I have a hard time switching out. So that's my answer, babe. I think
Yeah.
challenges are the same, but as I mentioned, it's a little bit more
So
supercharged.
one of the hardest things I think for you is that it's hard to switch off from the central executive mode to like husband mode or dad mode.
Yeah, whereas if I'm out doing
Yeah.
work, I come home and I'm switching off already as I come home.
And
I
then
can-
super quickly before we
Yeah.
get into the topic, what is
Yeah.
the best thing about being a dad during this pandemic, like a pandemic dad?
Same answer. The best thing about being a dad is, for me, is the same whether it's pandemic or not. I know you're trying to add like a pandemic slant there. I know your deeds. I think the greatest blessing or privilege of being a dad is influence. If there's anyone in our lives who we can most influence, I'm all about changing the world, right? One family at a time for Jesus, and in these platforms of learning, training, money, whatever. But with the kids, because they are with us the most, I have the greatest privilege of being able to influence them, and which is why I said the greatest issue is also that influence. Whether I am on point, whether I'm a good dad at the moment where I should be, or if I'm in a central executive mode. So that's, I think, the greatest blessing and the delight of seeing them love you. I have to admit that for me is one of the greatest delights when like even Kat Kaylee, she's 2 years old, she can say on her own, just last week or I think 2 weeks ago, she just looks at me, she goes, "I love you, Daddy." And
Oh yeah, that's like
priceless.
like the moment
priceless.
you wait for as a
Yeah.
parent, right? From your toddler.
Exactly.
So tonight's topic, it's called expectations versus reality, because I think this is where we really get
Someone's missing
frustrated.
family and box our podcast. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we will restart that
In
soon, I
January,
think.
we'll see. Okay.
But you know, even just in general, wait, are you listening to me?
Yes, but I'm blessed by Evergrace. She's saying that in her down moments and
Oh.
faith, she looks, oh, praise God. That okay,
So-
sorry, going back. This is Joy's
This
fault.
is what you call
Spontaneous.
expectations
Oh.
versus reality.
Okay, go,
right
go,
here.
go. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So you know how you come into marriage
Mm.
and you have all these expectations,
Yes.
whether you recognize it or not.
Yeah.
Like for example, what were some expectations that you had of me? Maybe because of the way you grew up or how your mom
Sure,
was.
sure.
What were
This
some
is-
of those expectations?
So this is straight talk now, right?
Yeah.
So I think a large part of the expectations were exactly as you said. The women who influenced me and impacted me, you know, set up certain expectations. So my mom was, I'm the eldest boy. I have 3 younger sisters. And, you know, because I'm surrounded with mom and sisters, it's like I felt like a little prince, really. My mom and the way she
Oh my gosh,
treated
did I roll
me,
my eyes?
and the way that my sisters were always like, yes, kuya, you know, whatever I say, even the crazy games you can ask them about that I would ask them to do, they would do it because they
Yeah.
loved me and
Or
looked
you
up to
could
me.
mouth out random
I could
bits
say whatever I want to be like, wow, that's
of
so
information.
cool, right?
that actually didn't have any
Might not even be true.
research or scientific basis.
So that's expectation.
And
I
then
expected, oh, you know what? When I get into marriage, you will be like, yes, honey, whatever
What?
you want, baby. You know, you dote on my every whim, and I'm hungry. Yes, I'll give you my food, and I'll prepare it, you know, with all the trays and settings. My mom does that. She has everything set well. Like everything.
amazing.
It's everything's themed. She will have a spoon, a plate, a charger, placemats, you know, cups with holders, cups with special knit things. That's kind of mom. So like what's that one? Martha Stewart kind of mom, right?
yes, that's true.
So it's not like I said, I want that to be you. And I think that's part of the
Yeah.
honest.
But in your
Sharing
heart,
with
right? In your heart,
But
you,
in my experience, it's not even my heart, it's my experience because
You know,
that's what I came
you
from.
had a predisposition.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sure we'll get to me. Your own expectations also.
so excited.
let's do you. So that was my expectation, right? So here's wifey, yes, baby, whatever you want, I'll do this for you, you know, and there will be no conflict. I just say it and it'll happen. If I say a fact, you'll be like, wow, that's amazing. You know, that's what I was expecting.
But what really happened?
Why don't you tell me what really happened? So I'll give you an example. I'll be like, hey, so you know what? The moon is 5 times longer than the sun. Random fact.
I'd be like, where'd you get that information? What's your basis? Doesn't even seem realistic.
What's your source? You would say
What's
that to
your
me in our
source?
first year of marriage. What's your source for that? I'm like, what's my source? Nagkukwentuhan lang tayo. I was
No,
thinking we're in the
it's
car
not- you know
randomly
what?
talking about things.
Because it's
So-
not random. It can be misleading people. Like for example, when you would mouth out these conclusions about something supposedly scientific or something about a country or a people group, and then you would say it with so much confidence. And in my heart, I was just concerned about the people listening, whether it was
But for the
your
record,
family,
it
our
was just
children.
me and her. You
Oh,
it's just me in the car. You and me.
Oh, at the beginning,
So
yeah.
when you say you're concerned about what I'm saying to other people, let's be honest, reality, right? It was just you and me in the car, and be like, why is she challenging this?
I was concerned about
It's just
myself.
a random fact. So, and then I'll be like, well, I don't know. I read it somewhere. She's like, where? Where did you read it? What? I'm like,
Anyway,
what? So,
you know
so
what?
that's mine. Now let's go you. Yeah. So what were your expectations coming into marriage? Go.
Well, I think one of my main expectations was that you would always be even tempered.
I was waiting. My actions now. I was waiting for
You
the
know,
word.
not so easily upset
Mm.
or frustrated or irritated. And I think you've changed so much. Well, I think that was one of the things that would get me frustrated or hurt. And I think it's because I had this predisposition where I came from a family
Which
where it was always
So what are the expectations? Go. Such
Yeah.
as?
such as, what do you mean?
Even cute? Okay. give me
Yeah,
one.
such as my father, right? Who's really very calm and in crisis situations, very cool-headed, level-headed, and although he's not a super passionate person in terms of his emotions or very expressive, but he would not
He will not
shout.
mouth out factoids, right?
No,
Except
he
now
would
in
not.
Viber, he forwards everything.
Yeah, he can improve on that. He does forward a lot of
We
stuff
love you,
now.
Dad.
We have to Snopes the stuff that he forwards.
It's a lot of stuff. We're like, what's this? So, back to point. So that's how he was towards you, and
Yeah.
that also set up
Yeah.
your expectations for
Yeah.
me, whether you were conscious of it or not, right?
And
Because that's the
I
model you
think
had.
it's very important for us to recognize that with any relationship that we have, whether you're married or single or in your dating relationship or you're a parent, we have a set of expectations that we bring into any of our relationships. And when we hold on to these expectations or we demand that people
Be that way.
be that way or
Mm.
fulfill those expectations,
And
that-
whether it's directly demanding it or indirectly, like
Right.
why is she so reactive towards
yes,
that?
that really sets us up for disappointment
Mhm.
and frustration. So do you remember one of the sayings that mom has, which I think is still true up to now, where she says, you lower your expectation and you raise your appreciation. Right?
It's very good.
And I have to be honest with you, like this happens in small
Yeah.
things. Like the other day, my daughter was playing with a friend.
Your daughter.
Our
Yeah. Expectation versus reality. For the record, we have shared children. And so the people might not get the wrong idea here. So only 6 set of children at the same parent. Okay, go. Our daughter. Yes.
Our little Kaylee was playing with a friend, and when I asked the friend, hey, can you share this toy with her? And the friend said no. And I was upset, and I wanted to react, and I wanted to say, well, if you ever come to visit me, I'm not going to let you play with Kaylee's toys. Because I felt hurt for Kaylee because she started crying, and she felt badly. But I had to restrain myself, because I guess my expectation was, I wouldn't let my child treat other children like that. So why is this child treating my child like that? Or remember yesterday, I was ordering something from a restaurant for Father's Day, and they messed up on my order. And because when you're a customer, you have this expectation, like people should serve you a certain way, you're paying for this.
Or they should
So-
deliver what you committed to,
Yes,
that you
what
paid
they,
for
what
already.
they committed to. And I remember I was telling you that I was so upset and frustrated. And I remember that in my message to the person, I said something like, I'm really upset and I can't believe this happened. And although I didn't yell at them and I didn't say super mean things, a part of me felt guilty because I knew that in my heart I was super irritated because I was coming from a place of expectation. And I think as a customer, of course, if you're paying for a service, people should serve you well. But I think when you hold on to that expectation, like you worship it and you put it on a pedestal so much so that it now causes you to be mean or to be unkind, that's where the problem happens, right?
Yeah.
So in marriage, oh, by
I'm
the way,
saying
I
yes because I'm
apologize.
just mesmerized with your brown eyes right now. Just
What
throwing me
in the
off.
world?
Like, wow. And your earrings are dazzling.
Oh,
me.
really?
Uh-huh.
So are you trying to butter me up or something?
Yes.
What?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll talk about that later. So babe, when you do that, I really can't follow my train of thought.
That's the idea.
So the person actually apologized and sent the food, and I actually
Mitch is trying to guess what it was.
I'll tell you later, Mitch. I'll
Secret.
tell you later, and I apologize also to the person because I realized, as a follower of Jesus, whether I'm a married person or I'm a customer or I'm a parent or I'm a friend, that must always be the standard that I have in all my relationships. I should be relating to people with kindness, with a peaceful attitude, whether they fulfill the expectations I have or not. And if they do, then that's a bonus. But if I make that expectation a demand, that's where you and I also have problems, right? When I expect you to always be like sweet or
Even
keeled, not irritable.
When I expect you to serve me like a prince.
Yes. Now you're a king. So now I serve
Am
you
I?
like a king.
It's modern king.
Yeah.
Serve thyself. The modern king.
Wait, you know what?
So no, I'm
Come
joking.
on.
Joy is a great. She really knows my love language is service, and she serves me well.
I can improve.
Can improve.
I'm not
She
at your
said that.
mom's level.
Yeah, but
right? Mommy's
but
level
I think
is
it's important to also realize that this is where it's healthy to actually confront those bases. Where are you getting that? Because when you do, then you can say and have some honest conversations about. And I think I've helped manage your expectations, and vice versa, right? That I'm not gonna ever be your dad. You're not ever gonna be my mom, and that's why she's my mom and he's your dad. I'm not that person.
And I don't want you to be my
Exactly,
dad.
and that's
I
exactly
realize
where I'm
that.
coming from.
And-
And when you were able to say that, then we, instead of having that as a standard, as a bar, we change the bar, right? We change the standard and we create our new standards together. So you have a healthy discussion like, hey, babe, you know what? There are some things where, to be very honest, I realize I can actually do it myself. And we've had these
Like
conversations,
what? Sample,
right?
please.
Getting my own water.
Oh, you mean like let's say
writing
you're-
my own checks for those of you that have been following Mondates. That's been one of our.
So are you saying?
So.
Okay, just,
But let me finish first. So the point here once again is you reset the expectations together. Once you're able to honestly say, where is this coming from? Because especially at the start of our first year, that's when it was really rocky for us. Because suddenly you're with each other 24/7.
it's
all
still
these things
rocky
come up.
sometimes, babe. It's
But
still
not as rocky.
Maybe not like boulders. Now it's like
Pebbles.
not pebbles.
Yeah.
That's too.
No, like
That's
little
too
speckled
small.
stones.
Oh no.
Yeah. Let's manage expectations about this later.
Maybe rocks, not boulders.
So that's what I'm learning. We wanted to encourage you guys with. Confront the expectation, find out where it's coming from, and then reset it and say, wait a minute, is that still something you want? Is that still something healthy that we can actually that can actually happen in the marriage, or can we reset it and change it to something else, right?
Yeah, and I think instead of calling it an expectation,
Like
we
you
should
appreciated
do our,
that I'm passionate.
Yes, I
See?
do. I actually
Yeah.
do. We should
Makes
talk
this more
about
exciting.
we should talk about what are your heartfelt needs and how can I better meet them, instead of saying that, well, you know, this is what I expected you to be like. I can't believe that you've changed. I can't believe that you can't just do this. I think anytime we start using statements like that, it doesn't build up the person, doesn't encourage them to even live up to that expectation. So I think the better conversation to have, and we've had this, right, where we have a heart to heart and we say, you know, babe, what is it? How is it that I can really minister to you? Or,
I don't use the word minister.
Not
That's
minister.
a big churchy word.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
speak like
not,
that. So I'm not sure where that was coming from, but that's how she
not,
remembers it.
not
So
minister.
maybe that's like her father would speak.
Wait, okay, not minister, but what's
How
you
can
phrase
I
it.
how can I show you that I love you better?
Yes,
right? Or
there.
how can I serve you better?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so how can I adjust? How can I improve? That's our favorite question. How can I? Now, I just want to segue, babe. This is a really great question of Cheddar here. She says, how do you determine if your standards are intergalactic, meaning, you know, super out of this world, versus reasonable non-negotiables? At times, I think, is it too much to expect certain character traits, honesty, faithfulness, patience, etc. And so the first question is, how can you determine whether it's reasonable or unreasonable expectation? And the second part is, how do you now talk about it? I think having an honest conversation about it without being demanding and unreasonable would be kind of like what we just shared. You want to just call it out straight. Hey, let's talk about expectations, right? And where this is coming from. Now, obviously, depending on the culture of your relationship and the context, you weave it in. Hindi yung biglaan, uy, I just came from this Monday. I want to talk to you about expectations. Patay. That's going to create problems if you're a husband or a wife. So fit it into the context. And then the more important question, or the more tricky part is, you know, defining what is reasonable and unreasonable. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think sometimes as women, maybe the unreasonable ones would be things like material expectations, where you come into marriage and you're expecting that you're going to be able to have like a house right away that you build, or a certain financial status maybe, or that your husband is always going to say sweet things to you, always going to be Prince Charming. I think anytime we have an always or never, that's like a question mark, right? But when it comes to character, this is where, and you know, I came from this. I went running this morning, where I had a really nice conversation with the Lord as I was running, and really praying for my husband about certain areas in his life that he may be dealing with, or maybe certain areas where I would like him to improve. And it just it set the tone of my day so differently. Instead of hoping or thinking, I hope he's like this, or I hope he's like that, I actually didn't think hardly of that. I said to the Lord, as I was running, I said, God, you know, these are the areas where I feel like maybe Edric can improve, things that maybe he's struggling with, and I give them to you. And I pray that you really work in his life, and you be the one to speak to him. And that really lightened the load. And I think it's not wrong to have dreams or desires or longings that your spouse can fulfill. But I would say that the way to go about it is you release them to the Lord first and give them to him first.
Nice.
And then let God be the one to
Nice.
transform your spouse.
Right.
But in the meantime, and this is one of the things that we've seen this in other couples, and it's also biblical. The appreciation, just saying things and calling things out that you do notice. So when Edric is sweet, or if Edric is loving, and I say, baby, I really appreciate when you are that way towards me, that encourages them to keep doing it, right?
That's good. I just want to add something.
Yeah.
I think part of how I would answer the question also of unreasonable and reasonable would be really the only and most important line is whether it's biblical or not, right? That's it. If it's not biblical, it's not reasonable. But if it is biblical, then for me, the more important question is not whether it's reasonable or unreasonable, whether it's intergalactic or it's a non-negotiable. I think the more important question at that point is really, what are the unexpressed expectations? Because that's where the challenges lie. Like I said, right? I was expecting Joy to be able to take all these comments that I would make, and I was like, well, where's that coming from? So until when we finally unpacked that and discussed it, then it became easier for us to now talk about things, because I realized, this doesn't work for her. So I would encourage you, keep the Bible as the standard of what is reasonable and unreasonable. Obviously, if it's unbiblical, don't do it because it's unbiblical. Yeah. But everything else, I think the important thing and the challenging part is really to be able to talk about it and say, where is that coming from, or what is your expectation, so that you can now decide between the two of you whether it's something you want to carry on, don't carry on, or modify. So that's how I would approach that question also.
But I think it's reasonable to expect, for example, fidelity.
Biblical.
Right? Yeah, that's biblical.
So,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. So I expect you to be faithful to me, right? And I expect you to I would think that fidelity would be the number one expectation, because you really commit to that at the altar.
So we talk about love and respect, right?
Yeah.
This crazy cycle. So fidelity, and also just, I think what you're saying is expectation of also me showing you that I love you in the language that makes sense to you, right? Like, you like words, you love words so much that if I give 10 good words and I say one constructive thing, she will remember that one thing. That's how you are.
Maybe it's because of the tone. Sometimes it's the tone. Babe.
Okay, we'll talk about that
tone.
offline. So
okay,
I hope that's helpful. We'll wrap this up. I think there's one more question here. Aren't there minimum expectations for spouses? Or no, this is a better one. Is it normal to get tired, especially if it's only you that is doing all the effort?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Maybe we can close on that note. What are your thoughts, baby?
Oh yeah, super. Of course, I think it's normal to get tired, and I think sometimes you just want to give up, right? And there's some things in our marriage. Edric and I, we have a great marriage by God's grace, but there are some
things... Did you say we have a great marriage?
Yeah.
Good. It's not your marriage.
But sometimes, of course, there are hurts or offenses that get repeated. By God's grace, it doesn't have to do with infidelity. By God's grace, and I know some of you have dealt with that. But when it's the same things that you've talked about it already and it still happens, those things can really still create wounds, right? And so that's why what I was sharing with you all, and to the ladies, I'm speaking especially to the ladies right now who are listening.
Then I'll speak to the men.
Your relationship with God will really determine how happy you are in your marriage. Because if you're looking to your spouse to fulfill all these longings and desires, they're not going to be able to do it. And even the best guy can't do it completely. And so I've had to learn that sometimes the hard way. And so now that I'm really trying to revive my prayer time in a more intimate way, I've seen that God fills that need I have, that otherwise I would think you need to fill, to make me feel good, to make me feel happy. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, basically, the answer is yes, it is normal to get tired, but if you're looking to your spouse to feel something in you. Yeah. I love the perspective that, you really go into a marriage not for what they will give you, and we've talked about this in the past, but instead you go into it thinking about what you can give to your spouse. And regardless of what you're giving or what you're getting, you're doing it not for them, you're doing it for the Lord. That is so important. I know it's easier said than done, but if you just shift the mindset to that, Lord, I'm in this marriage because you put me here for a reason, and I want to be a blessing to my spouse. Whatever they do for you is a bonus. So that is it. If they do things that aren't necessarily what you like, then you can deal with it, because the reality is, hey, Lord, I'm in this for you. Now, that's a broad statement. Obviously, if there's violence and all those things, we're not talking about that. But as a general rule, in expectations, if you're feeling drained, hey, welcome to the club. But the reality is, the reason you're there, the reason you're feeling drained is because you have these expectations from her or him
Yeah.
that they will not be able to really truly ultimately fulfill. It's really the Lord that does it, and our spouse becomes a wonderful bonus. So
Can I just say that
Yes.
this could be a dating relationship, and
Yeah.
if that's the case,
very different.
it's very different.
Yeah.
In fact,
If you are dating, then all commitments are not on the table yet, right? There is
well,
some.
there's still a commitment.
There's some.
But you can
but
still lead the
for sure,
relationship.
yeah,
And,
if-
and I would just say if you're a single person and you're putting in all the effort and the other person is not trying,
That's a good
that's
indicator
that's
for
like,
you.
You know,
Yep.
it's time to go.
That's time to go. Yeah, because everything I said was about marriage. Okay,
Yeah.
you look at what you can do and give in the marriage. That's not for dating. So, and someone asked, we're gonna close with this really quick. How many of you are single watching this? Because someone messaged us offline and said, would it be great to talk about what to look for in a spouse or in a guy or in a girl? So we're thinking about maybe covering that. We just want to get a feel of if you're single. If you're single, say me on the chat box just so we know, and then we're gonna end our time with you guys. Because if there are not many, then maybe we won't.
Do that topic.
Yeah, maybe it's not that relevant. All right, so go, guys. We'll give a couple seconds. Let's see. Are there any singles here not yet married? Just say me. Ready?
Hey, but can I just say that
Woohoo.
even though
Woohoo! I guess that's a me.
even though you know you're not supposed to impose or demand expectations.
Oh,
Right?
single. There, me. Okay, there you go. All right, me.
You know you're not
Yeah.
supposed to demand it, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just want to say that I appreciate how you've changed so much and met
Yeah.
so many of those expectations.
Wow.
Did you hear what I said?
I did. Yeah. So this is like a Father's Day like bonus for me. This is great, guys. It was worth it to have Mondays with all of you. So, babe, there's a lot of singles. Hey, thanks for
That's
joining
a
us,
lot.
even if you
Okay.
guys are single. So we'll do one. We'll do one.
We'll do one.
Surprise.
Just
We won't
will
say
not
when.
say it.
So under commit,
Yeah.
over deliver.
Yeah,
That's
because we
another
don't want
way
them
to
to have-
manage expectations.
Right.
So
Okay.
God bless everybody. Have a great week. Thanks for joining us.
Wait, there's a
Bye.
verse. I want to just close with this Bible
Okay,
verse.
okay, go.
This Bible verse, right? So it's in 2 Timothy chapter 2.
Yeah. So flee youthful passions. Is that what? No, that's not it. Okay, go.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 24. And
Yeah.
the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil, correcting his opponents with gentleness. And I guess how it relates is sometimes our spouse can seem like the opponent. Right? But we have to be
That's a separate
patient,
Monday, all of its own.
patient with one another. And if we do correct, we do so with gentleness.
Awesome.
So those are just some tips for communication.
Thanks, baby. I love it. God bless you guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.